'cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary, it's about to be legendary.
How many of you guys are really ready to like dive in crazy deep in the world of real estate? You guys ready? Yeah. I said, are you ready? Yeah. Then please get on your feet. Help me welcome to the stage, Tyler Bennett. Give it up for him, folks. Give it up. All right. So Tyler's brought his team with him right now. We're just going to be bringing Tyler up here. Let me give you a little context for the next 2 hours. Go have a seat. This is the time to pull out the pen and papers, take notes. For the next couple hours, what's going to be happening is Tyler, I'm going to be up here with them, guiding a little bit, make sure that we hit all the topics that I want. But guys, Tyler, this is his game of mastery. He's going to share with you why real estate. He's going to share with you all the benefits. And then he's going to share with you the most intelligent approach. And I want to define intelligent approach based on an announcement that I'll be making later today that I have never made before in 15 years. I can show any one of you in this room how to buy hundreds of properties, and this information is key. How important is it to listen and learn and get this right now? Awesome. So guys, with that, one more time, give it up for Tyler Bennett.
Thanks, Kris. Thank you. I have to start. So Kris and I have been doing this a long time. So all those experiences he was sharing about his speaking mishaps, firsthand, I have experienced every single one of those. Every one of those examples that he used, I was there in attendance. And I could do the same thing with real estate. I definitely have not figured out the whole speaking thing. I haven't mastered it. And basically what Kris was just saying is get out your pens and papers because Tyler's going to be kind of boring, not very entertaining. Because I'm the data guy, right? I'm the super analytical, let's dive into real estate, why we do real estate, how we do real estate, how we identify markets, how we set up our teams, all these different pieces to doing real estate successfully. So we're gonna go over that. But along the way, I have had my shirt sticking out of my zipper in the form of real estate many times. And so what you see today and how we do real estate today is a reflection of learning along the way. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and we learn from them, we make adjustments, and then we do it different. And so where you see this polished Kris up here on stage and presenting and mastering that piece, I really feel like we've done the same thing with real estate along the way. And so what you see today is a culmination of years and years and thousands of houses. And the reason we do what we do, there's a specific purpose for it all along the way. So with that, I just want to start with a little story. This house. This is the very first house that I bought. Now, I'm a big believer in if I'm going to get up and tell people that they need to do real estate or why real estate can be so powerful for their portfolio or the value of residual income or all these cool things about real estate, I have to be doing it myself. So before I ever started selling real estate or promoting real estate, I was buying real estate. And this is the very, very first house that I have in my portfolio. And I just want to explain the story of this house. I bought it in 2004, and I paid $132,000 for it. Very first house my wife and I bought. I didn't really buy it with an investment strategy, but I bought it, okay? And I got into real estate. And through the course of our first year of marriage, I started learning more about real estate, the value of real estate, and I bought another house a year later. So I lived in this house for 1 year, okay? Bought it as a primary residence, so I put $5,000 down, okay? And remember that number, because when we talk ROIs, it gets exciting. So I put $5,000 down on this house, $132,000. And I've rented it out since. I still own it. It's just down in the valley in Orem, Utah. And so we fast forward, 15 years that I've had this property. I could sell it tomorrow for $275,000, okay? So I've got about $150,000 of the value where it started and the value where it is today. And also, my tenant has paid down the mortgage about $50,000, so I owe just under $70,000. So I have the $150,000 that I've gained in equity and market, I have $50,000 in principal reduction that hasn't come out of my pocket, and I cash flow about $400 a month. So I've made, what is that, about $5,000 a year for 15 years. So what is that, another $85,000 or something that I've made from cash flow. So you combine all that together on a $5,000 investment, and it's just crazy ROIs. Like, I wouldn't even get up here and tell people that they could make that type of return in real estate, because it's just crazy. But when we get into why real estate, this is why real estate, right? In my personal portfolio, I have 19 houses like this. They've all been accumulated over time now. And I don't have hundreds of houses like Kris, but I have my plan and my game plan. And it's truly life-changing, right? When I look back at this and I look at the residual income I have, the equity growth that I have permission to work as much as I want to work. And it's all because of real estate and getting in it, but having the right strategy, buying the right product, and then being patient, letting it take its course, it can be very, very powerful.
So guys, I want you to think about this for just a moment, because Tyler's talking about, young man, how old are you?
39.
He's 39 years old, 18 properties. He's got a massive net worth sitting in his real estate alone. He owns, in the Valley, he has some of the biggest day spa businesses out here, very diversified. You're also commercial projects, a number of other things. So he's amassed a great amount of wealth. But some of you are like, but man, Kris, 15 years, that's a lot of time. I got news for you. When you get the power of real estate, you will never get out of real estate. If you do real estate the right way, you keep doing it till it produces enough cash flow for financial independence, and then in time it's enough for financial freedom. But do you think you're gonna get out of real estate if it's working for you after that? What are you gonna do? 18 properties over the course of the next 50 years, when this man is still alive, turns into a lot more properties. It turns into a legacy. It turns into generational wealth. Do you guys understand this? So I want to be really clear. You can shoot for making a lot of money in a short period of time. Just understand that if it's working, you're probably never going to what? You're probably never going to stop. You're going to keep on doing it. Does this make sense? It's like, do I need hundreds of homes for my lifestyle? I don't. But in the next couple of years, I will own thousands. Why? Because I can. And because more money means more what? More money, more opportunity. And how many of you, as you're making more money, see that your goals expand and grow with them? Awesome. So just curious, we've done thousands of projects. For you, when you look at your next decade, just share a little bit from your game plan. What is it that you're going for next in your own personal life before we start talking about them?
Yeah, good. So specifically for me, well, let me talk about my why really fast. On Tuesday night at the VIP event, we heard some really good whys. Like, why do I want to create wealth? Why do I want to make money? What do I want to do with that? One thing that I absolutely love, I have 4 kids, a 5th on the way, and I am passionate about athletics. I love sports. I grew up playing sports. And for the last about 8-9 years, I've coached my kids. And, I mean, we're crazy. My daughter's softball team will play 100-something games this year in all these different states, and it's just at a pretty high level, competitive level. I think I'm out of town from the beginning of March. I'm not in town for a weekend until the end of September, and it's 100% with sports. Our whole lives are centered around it, and I absolutely love what sports can do for youth. Because it's one thing that I teach them how to hit a ball or how to field a grounder, but it's another thing, you know, I coach girls, I coach boys, I had 13 5-year-olds at my house last night, I've got a batting cage inside of my house and all these things, and I've built my life around youth athletics and what they can learn from that. You know, we had a meeting the other day with all my girls and their parents and everything to kind of kick off the year, and when you think of 11, 12, 13-year-old girls at such a pivotal time in their life, right? This is where they're creating their identity, and they get to learn the value of teamwork. They get to experience failure. You know, my daughter, just the other day, we were in a tournament. She gets a big at bat. End of the game, we're tied, tying run on third base, and for her to experience the butterflies, the pressure of all eyes on me, I love that, right? I love that I'm able to create that space for her, but she struck out, she failed. And I'm 100% good with that because they need to learn how to fail. They need to learn that people are relying on them and they're still going to fail, but it's how they bounce back, right? And I love being able to teach youth life lessons through athletics, because that's how I can relate to them. And so for me, to circle back to my game plan, my goal is to continue to build my real estate portfolio, but to, by the time I'm 45, so in 6 years, to have 100% of my entire portfolio paid off. At that point, I've got $35,000, $40,000 of residual income coming in, and then I can really, really focus on giving back to youth through athletics and expanding my reach past, my 4 kids and their immediate teams and the teams in the local community, but doing it on a lot bigger scale. One of the things I love doing is finding youth that don't have the opportunity to participate in sports at a high level, because it's expensive. I mean, I probably am going to spend $40,000 or $50,000 this year on tournament fees, travel. Like, we're taking my son's team to Cooperstown in New York this year, all kinds of really neat experiences, but so many kids out there want to do that, don't have the ability to do it. So right now, I'm able to sponsor a lot of kids and help them participate, but I want to do so much more. So that's my why.
Guys, he for Tyler, that is so awesome. Dude, that is inspirational, bro. I love that.
But yeah, and with that, it's having all kinds of projects going on and development and storage units, and there's all kinds of cool projects I'm involved in. But because I have that strong foundation of the single-family homes and that residual income coming in, that then gives me permission to go do fun projects.
Love it. Awesome. Well, dude, Tyler, let's dive on in. Let's actually get into the whole conversation of the macroeconomics, because most investors only do real estate from the perspective of, I got to find a good deal in my backyard. And that perspective will limit you tremendously. So we're going to share with you a little bit of a different approach.
Okay, so there's a couple quotes. We won't read all of these, but this top one: rich people stay rich by living like they're broke. Broke people stay broke by living like they're rich. And then the second one is, don't tell me where your priorities are. Show me where you spend your money, and I'll tell you what they are. I want to focus on those two really quick, because when we talk about why real estate is a vehicle, and it's a solution to a problem. And I've been in the lending industry for a lot of years, and I've originated hundreds of million dollars of loans. And as many of you know, when you go to get a loan, you've got to give them everything, minus a blood sample, in order to get a mortgage. And so I'm able to analyze bank statements and tax returns, and I get to see where everybody's spending their money. And it's so interesting. I love these two quotes, because the concept is most people are not very smart with their money. And I'm not talking about they're doing wrong investments. I'm just talking about it's leaking out in little small areas. I call it your Starbucks money, right? Or your gas station money, or whatever it is. But so many people don't understand a little bit, a lot of times adds up to a lot, and they're on the wrong side of that. And if they can shift that, it's so powerful.
So real quick, guys. Rule number 1 in making money is PYF, stands for? And ideally, the minimum amount you want to pay yourself off of every paycheck and every dollar you earn is how much? 20%. And if you're living check to check, you want to at least start by saving how much? 10%. And the rest will work itself out. Now, by the way, as you start succeeding, can you go from 20% to 30%? Friends, the majority of all the money I make is all pay myself money now. The majority of any dollar that comes in, which means that I have over 80% of my income that is literally doing nothing but funneling back into my investments. So you want to get there, and you want to look at that as a challenge, and you want to start that challenge when? Right now.
So Kris has my permission to have that Starbucks cup right now. I pick on Starbucks because it's so easy to. Okay, here's another cool stat about why real estate is so important right now. 1 in 3 Americans, okay? So 1 in 3 Americans has saved this much for retirement. So let's really look at this. 33% have no retirement savings. 23% have less than 10K. So what is that? Over 50% literally don't even have $10,000. That's half the people out there. Now, let's go to the $100,000 mark. And if we add up, what is that? Almost 70% don't have $100,000. And then you look at the very end, only 13% have 300 grand or more. And how many people think 300 grand is enough for retirement? No, it's not. Kris and I have sat with dozens and hundreds, thousands probably of people that have done everything right. They went to school, they got a degree, they're making above average wages, they live responsibly, they have equity in their home, they're driving cars that fit where they should be, and they come to us and say, wait a sec, I have $400,000 in an IRA and a 401k, I've got some equity in my house, I want to retire in 10 years, and I want a $75,000 standard of living when I retire. And you do the math, and they're going to be at Walmart when they're 74. Heaven forbid they have any health issues, right? And so many people fit this category. They're the top 13%, but they still haven't done enough. And the biggest void I think that they have is, where is my income going to come from?
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I shared this with some of you. When I was 8 years old, I felt like out of my 8 other brothers and sisters, it'd be my responsibility to take care of my parents in their old age. For me, one of the most meaningful things I've been able to do with my life the last decade is take care of my parents. Send them on trips, let them have fun, let them not have the financial worries. The reality is, I'm doing that. My parents didn't have the money. My parents have practically nothing to their name, so I feel very blessed that I'm able to step in and help them have a great lifestyle and a great life. But most people, when they're done working, their lifestyle becomes very, very small. And by the way, when you have very, very little money after having been accustomed to a nicer lifestyle, what does that do to the mindset? It produces crotchety people. So unfortunately, some people spend the last couple decades of their life being absolutely miserable. And that's the most detrimental part of needing a game plan. And by the way, look at what age you are. When would now be the right time for you to actually start working on your first real $1 million? When would now be the right time? Guys, you got to get serious about this, and I want to tell you that you're going to get answers, you're going to see deals happen here shortly, but you need to understand that the big thing that I can't give you is hunger. What is it? Hunger. That's something you have to supply. That's what the emotional mastery is also about. Learning how to get hungry on demand, find the motivation, rise up, make stuff happen.
Okay, so let's just look at a couple other things. Speaking of the value of time and the time to act being now, look at the difference of this. So this is literally just the value of time here. So the high cost of waiting. So if you save $200 a month and you got 10% interest until age 65, look at the difference of if you start when you're 20 versus 21, 22, 25. So 5 years costs you how much money? $500,000. And so often people come to us and say, I didn't do it right for the last 25 years. Am I out of time? The reality is no. You're never out of time, but the longer you wait, the more catch-up you're going to have to do. The faster you have to go. So the value of time. One more example, because I really want to beat in why real estate, because real estate is such a powerful vehicle to create the results that we want. But it starts with putting yourself in a position to being able to participate in real estate, because it takes money to get into real estate, or connections, partnerships, all those different things that Kris teaches. But be smart with what you have to work with, and the smarter you are with what's coming in, the more you have to go work for you. So I just want to show you this. So depending on the groups I'm in front of, I think Kris fits the Tesla crowd, so I'm going with him. Sometimes I have like a new Honda Accord and a used Honda Accord, but I didn't think that fit Kris, so I've got Teslas for him. So you've got a new Tesla versus a used Tesla. It's a $50,000 difference. Are both cars nice? Yes, okay. But does it really cost, if you buy the new one for 50 grand more, are you really only paying 50 grand more? And this is where I want that mindset shift to go. Because if you took that $50,000, you invested it for 30 years, that's worth $1.5 million. So whether you're at Starbucks, the gas station, or the car dealership, the point is, if you can make smart decisions, and then with the money that you're saving, invest it, that's the power of it. So it's really a $1.5 million decision to buy the new one versus the used one.
Guys, is this useful? Is this helpful? Is there a time when you can raise your standard of living? Is there an appropriate time when you can live a high on the horse? Yes or yes? Guys, in the beginning, for the first 5 years, I didn't own a single luxury item. For the first 5 years, I was busting my butt, and I tell you, I had a buddy of mine, same income, same job, bought the pretty house up on the hill overlooking the water, and I bought this tiny little bungalow. And when I bought this little house, I bought it because I rented out the basement, I lived for free. But when I go visit my buddy's house, I'd have these feelings. I'd sometimes feel some jealousy. I'd be like, man, why can't I just allow myself to do that? This house is so much nicer, so much newer, this would be so much nicer. But this person, now, all these years later, still lives in that house, has outgrown it, still living there out of necessity, just lost a job. But after 5 years, I could live anywhere in the country, in any house that I wanted, drive any car that I wanted, and have anything that I wanted. So one of the principles is this idea of delayed gratification, because for your first couple of years, the most important thing you can do is rule number 1, PYF, what does it stand for? And some of you, if you rebalance if you start looking at your expenses, you're like, well, if I change this, I change this, I change that, I'd have an extra $300 a month. Does an extra $300 a month with a little bit of time add up to a lot of money? I got a buddy here in this room. I won't call them out, but they'll know who they are. They just recently sold their home. They've got a pile of cash. And I was just talking to their spouse the other day, and she said, Kris, I just want to get some advice. I'm going to take this money, and I'm going to pay up my student loan debt. And I said, tell me about that. Why would you make that choice? And she said, for so long we've had this debt, and I don't know, it's like a monkey on the back. I just want to get rid of it. She about to make a decision because she's going for a what? A feeling. A what? Yeah. And couldn't probably make a more dumb choice because she just spent all this time getting to this point just to break even, get nothing. That $50,000 is seed capital for what? Guys, you gotta invest. You gotta save the money, you gotta invest. If you don't got the money, we'll teach you how to invent it this afternoon. You gotta get the money, you gotta invest. Doesn't matter whose money it is. If you have the right system, you have the right, you gotta go. We've been brainwashed that debt is evil. But you know what? When you have no debt, you can't retire. How many of you get that? No debt, you can't eat no debt. How many of you get that no debt is a level of freedom? Yes? But you know what? It cannot compare to this other. So real quick, just an analogy. I right now will write you $1 million check. I'll write you $1 million check, give you $1 million bucks, or $10,000 a month, every month, for the rest of your life, growing at 10% a year. Guys, $10,000 is small compared to $1 million. Which one you want? This is worth more than that. So the whole get out of debt is all about an accumulation mindset that just says, I have to save enough money to be free. That's not true. We've already shown 13%, 300,000 net worth. Can you retire on that? You can't. Is it a lot of money? It's not. So how many of you get there needs to be a different game plan? Guys, that's why real estate. And by the way, you're here in this room getting this education. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. Yes. Seriously awesome.
So I'm going to draw something for you really quick. Kris did that marathon analogy, right, where he's running back and forth. I want to talk about from a financial standpoint, the marathon that so many people run, right? And you have this consumer mindset versus an investor mindset. And consumers, what they do is they borrow and then they repay. Then they borrow, they repay, they borrow, they repay, and then they save and they pay cash. They save, they pay cash. They save, they pay cash. But where do they always end up? The same spot, right? So kind of that inflow of money. Do I get money and then just pay off? Get money, pay off. Get money, pay off. Versus an investor mindset, they're going to understand the power of leverage. We'll talk about that as we get into real estate and the details. And they're not willing to be right there. They want a trajectory like that. And you can't get there with that consumer mindset of just ending up at that starting point over and over and over and over again.
Real quick, just got to ask, what decision are you making right now? We talked about pay yourself first. As you're starting to get this in, this is the moment to start locking in some new choices. How much money can you start setting aside every month to actually pay yourself instead of just living life or paying bills? Right now, what's the amount of money that you can start setting aside? What are some things that you can downgrade on? What are some things that you can do to make sure that there's something left over? Even if it's $50 or $100 a month, you got to start somewhere. I just want to get a couple of hands. What choice are you making based on what you're learning right now?